Good morning on this wonderful Wednesday edition of the Sports Podcast. I'm your host, the diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual. I am the Chiseled Adonis. What's going on, guys? I was going through this yesterday, but then I ran into a ton of stuff, all the other issues going on in the world. I had a lot of things that I was focused on, so I wanted to do it this morning. Let's talk a little bit about what transpired this past weekend in the world of football. Now, I'll start off with Thursday night football, and I recommend everybody go out, download that DraftKings app, and start playing in these $quarter and $3 leagues. Just throw $20 in DraftKings and then start gambling. I'm telling you right now, you'll get a return on your investment, especially if you know football. I done won $40 already. I've been addicted to DraftKings since last year. I walked in, only put $3 into the app, walked out with about $250 at the end of the season. I'm not one of these idiots who's going to wager $20 per week. Oh no, I'm playing in the leagues that cost me 25 cents, a dollar, and up to five. Why? Because I'm going to be winning these leagues because I happen to know football. Now, let's start off with Thursday night football. The Jets and the Bills. Now, the Jets' impressive win. Defensively, there is no reason in hell why you should be giving up 31 points to Buffalo. Granted, you had two long plays that happened to lead to all of these points, but still, Buffalo should never be scoring that much against you. Now, as to on to Buffalo, why did you fire your offensive coordinator? Makes no sense to me. If anybody who should be fired is your defensive coordinator, I don't know why Rex Ryan hired his brother Rob Ryan, because Rob Ryan got torched in New Orleans last year. There's no reason why he should have a job and still have a job, especially after giving up 37 points, but your offensive coordinator just put up 31 and you fire him. Makes no damn sense to me. Moving on to San Francisco and the Panthers. Now, the Panthers, they ended up winning 46-27. Now, on their case, they're looking very impressive. They've made up for the burger that they dropped last week. San Francisco, I'm not sure what's going on. You opened up very strong against the Los Angeles Rams last week, but you dropped an egg again this week. And mind you, the score, it may look like they only won by 19, but it was a runaway the entire game. Kelvin Benjamin looked like an all-pro against this 49ers defense. I'm very excited about that kid. If you happen to play fantasy and he happens to be on your team, I'd start him every week because he seems to be getting a ton of targets throughout the entire season. Moving on to the Cowboys and the Redskins. Now, this game, Prescott came out and won the game for him. I'll go that much. Washington, it seems like they're a couple plays away from being able to win football games. Jay Gruden came out and talked about Kirk Cousins and his inability to make certain throws. Now, if I'm a coach in the NFL, especially if I'm a quarterback's coach, I wouldn't want my head coach to come out and roast my QB up front for the media to see. That's something that got to happen inside the locker room, especially after week 2. I'm not going to go into panic mode just 2 weeks into the season. We've seen numerous teams play terrible for the first 2 weeks of the season and come back and make the playoffs and make a run. For example, last year in Seattle, they started out 0-2. People were panicking. Where'd they end up? In the playoffs, although they should have lost to Minnesota, but they ended up in the playoffs, moving on to the second round. There's no reason why people should be panicking this early, especially in Washington. He may just be a little bit rusty. He's thinking about that contract. Get it together, Washington. Seriously, there's no reason why you should be going off this damn early in the season. Game of the week, like I predicted, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Pittsburgh walked out with that W, as you can see on my shirt. Like I said before, huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. Fuck the Bengals. I'm happy they lost. And in fact, I'm happy the way that they lost. A little bit of controversy at the end. Do I think that was a fumble? No, I do not think that was a fumble. I do not think that was a fumble. His knee was clearly down. Granted, the referees, they could not see because when James Harrison came in to make the tackle, his knee then eclipsed the ball. So you're not sure if it was the effects of the rain that caused him to fumble or was it his knee hitting the ball after the man's knee was down. Granted, if you can't see the ball, but you can see his knee is down, at that point, I'm giving the ball to Cincinnati. Keep the ball in Cincinnati's hands. Let them drive down the field. Pittsburgh's defense was stopping them all night. All damn night. I trust in that defense. And if I'm an official, I don't make that call. I'm sorry, I cannot make that call. The last game that ended in Cincinnati, in the well, I shouldn't even say ended in Cincinnati, ended in Pittsburgh, or where were they? No, yeah, I think they were in Cincinnati last year in the playoffs. That ended in controversy. There's no reason why this game should end in controversy too. But the way that they played, Pittsburgh was destroying them up and down the field. They may have had, what, about 300, 400 yards of offense, but they couldn't generate any points. Every time they got into the red zone, Pittsburgh held them. Amazing job by Keith Butler and those boys in the secondary and the front seven. Pittsburgh defense is something to think about. I'm serious right now. It's the most complete team. And you'll find out later in my top 5 power rankings. I cut it down from 32 to top 5 because I'm not the damn NFL Network. I don't got no time to talk about the Cleveland Browns and the Chicago Bears, who can't seem to generate no sort of offense or defense. I don't care about them. I only care about the best in the goddamn league. Let's move on to the Giants and the Saints. The Giants, to my chagrin, came out and won the game 16-13. Now, I thought this was supposed to be an offensive explosion. I think everybody was surprised that defenses even showed up. The only touchdown that transpired in this game happened to come on a defensive end who blocked the field goal. Then Janoris Jenkins picks up the ball and then runs into the end zone. Granted, not, I mean, special teams, but special teams defense, they're pretty much one and the same. I'm not sure or sold on this Giants offense. Eli has been increasing his numbers with Ben McAdoo for the last 2 seasons and now the starting of this season, but they can't seem to get into the end zone this year. And I'm not really sold on that team. I'm sorry. I've never been a big fan of the Giants. They've always been extremely inconsistent. Now, me being from New York, I've had to hear about the Giants. That's why of my top teams that I hate the most, the Giants are number 1. The Ravens are number 2, then the Patriots, and then Cincinnati. There is no 5. It's just those 4. But I've always hated the Giants the most because their fans seem to always talk, and then on the downswing, they have an excuse for everything. That's one of the reasons why I'm not really sold on the Giants. Until I see something done offensively by this team, I'm not really sold on them. If you look at the 2 teams that they played, you played against a weak Dallas Cowboys team without their quarterback and still nearly lost to Dak Prescott. Then you played against a New Orleans Saints team and only won by 3. Come on, man. I'm not really sold on this team. Don't get me all up in arms because you're 2-0. I don't think it's a real sort of 2-0. Patriots and Dolphins. This game surprised me. Garoppolo is very consistent. Unfortunately, he something happened with his AC joint when he got tackled, so we're gonna end up seeing Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Now, if he comes out and performs this next game on Thursday night against the Texans, to be quite honest, a lot of people are going to start having some speculation about Brady to see, is he actually really this good, or if he's a system guy and Bill Belichick is just the amazing coach that we know he is. Like, is this Tom Brady's real excellence, or is it just a quarterback who's getting all this stuff done? Or should I say, yeah, because it seems kind of odd to me that you could just input Garoppolo right there and bam, 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 bam. Like, granted, you're learning from Tom Brady, so you should come out and perform. But if Jacoby Brissett just shows up and he starts killing it and tearing it up, it makes you start to wonder. Like, I'm not questioning Tom Brady's legacy. I'm not saying Tom Brady isn't an amazing quarterback. I'm not saying he's probably the greatest quarterback of all time. But every single time you put a quarterback in there, they all perform. Like, is it really you, or is it the system? It's just a question. I'm not saying it's not him. I'm just saying it can breed the question. They destroyed the Dolphins. The Dolphins started to come back after Garoppolo got hurt, but at that point, it was already too late. That Patriots defense, I'm really not sold on them. Their offense is playing amazing, especially without a lot of their key pieces. Big key piece being Gronk, and you're still able to put up 30 points. This team is something to be looked at. That's why, but they dropped down a spot in my power rankings. I'm going to explain why later on. The Texans and the Chiefs. Texans came out and took care of business. They held the Chiefs to only 12 points. Jamal Charles still hasn't come back yet. But this Texans defense is real. Will Fuller, that rookie receiver, he can play ball, man. He can play ball. I said last week he impressed me. This week he impressed me even more. DeAndre Hopkins, I don't need to say nothing about him. That's a grown man right there. Lamar Miller in the backfield, also with Brock Osweiler playing decent. He may have threw 2 picks, but he's still playing decent enough to get you to win games. We're going to find out how good this Texans team really is tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football against the New England Patriots. You got 2-2-0 teams going against each other. Somebody's got to lose. Let's move on to Tennessee and Detroit. Detroit loses this one in the clutch. Now, there's no reason why back-to-back weeks you should be down having to try to win on a game-winning drive. That's why I kind of don't like this Detroit defense. However, the Titans, they don't really have an offensive identity. Mariota, ever since he came out of college, he hasn't really done anything. You had those 2 amazing first 2 games. Then you had that shootout with Jacksonville last year. And then you got hurt on and off. I'm not really feeling the hype about this guy. I don't see what all the deal was. I don't know if he's in the wrong team, if you don't have real weapons to throw to, because in your backfield you got DeMarco Murray splitting carries with that boy out of Alabama, Henry. So I'm not sure why they can't seem to generate offense. If anything, you should be running the ball about 30 times between both backs, and that should open up the play action for you to get the ball to Delanie Walker, who happens to be your only passing target. I don't know any other receivers that's out in Tennessee, but they're going to have to play better than that. Titans, Lions, 16-15. Don't really care for this game. None of these teams I see going to the playoffs. Good win for the Titans, but next week we'll find out what type of team they are. The Ravens, the Browns. The Ravens come back from a 20-0 deficit and win 25-20. Cleveland, you suck. You suck, Cleveland. Look at me. You suck, Cleveland. Somebody needs to go call Johnny Manziel. Josh McCown, you showed a lot of heart. You fucked up your shoulder after you just came in the game, but you decided to stay out there. He gave an amazing post-game press conference in his interview. I advise you guys, go to NFL.com, check out his interview. It was very emotional, very moving, because he decided to stay in the game because he watched his brother, he watched his father get up and go to work and not have to complain. And he got 2 sons of his own. He wants to show toughness to those guys. I commend you, Josh McCown, but you lost the damn juice. The Cleveland Browns suck. Now moving on to the Rams and the Seahawks. Ironically, I predicted this game after I made the show last week. I predicted this game to go St. Louis's way. Or I said St. Louis. Wow. Los Angeles way, because they played Seattle amazing the last 5 times that they played them, and they just match up perfect. And Russell Wilson's playing on a bum ankle, and I actually don't see him finishing the seasons this year, but I'll speak about that later in a later podcast. But Los Angeles came out and took care of business. They took care of business. There was no touchdown scored in this game. However, the field goal from Legatron was enough to win 9-3. And I'll say this much. The Seahawks only scored 1 offensive touchdown in the past 2 weeks. That 1 offensive touchdown being Wilson to Baldwin to win the game against Miami. This team always starts out slow, but offensively, they seem to have lost their identity without Marshawn Lynch. Because Seattle was always imposing their will against their opponents. Offensively, we're going to beat you down. Defensively, we're going to hit you in the mouth. It doesn't look like that anymore. Defensively, they don't blitz that much anymore. Their front 4 can't really generate that big of a push. I'm really on the fence about this Seattle team, because has Arizona just took the division and ran away with it? I don't know what's going on out there, but Seattle, they're not the same Seattle from years past. I'll tell you that much. The Buccaneers and the Cardinals, the Bucs got destroyed. I was very hype after week 1, after seeing what Jameis Winston could do with this Tampa Bay team, and they came out and played against the most talented team in the league in Arizona, at Arizona, and got a walloping. And tell you the truth, I expected a better game, but Arizona came out and destroyed them. I mean, they scored 24 points in the second quarter alone. You win 40-7. That's demolishing a team. They came out, did what they had to do. I think there was a defensive touchdown as well. Great job by the Cardinals. As for Tampa Bay, you get to make up for that loss later on down the line. You're not going to play Arizona again ultimately, but you learned after playing one of the best teams in the league. So I expect them to fix these issues because I do see Tampa Bay going to the playoffs and possibly winning their division. Well, not necessarily winning their division because that's Carolina right there, but I see them number 2 in that division. The Jaguars versus the Chargers, Jacksonville really let me down. You have all this potential. You have all this potential offensively and defensively, and you don't even put up 21 points. The Chargers came out without Keenan Allen. You lost Danny Woodhead. And you got destroyed by a Travis Benjamin, Melvin Gordon, and for some apparent reason, Phillip Rivers, who still got some in the tank. I don't understand how Jacksonville gave up 38 points. Like, no offense to the Chargers, but there's no reason why the Chargers, without all of these weapons, put up 38 points. Jacksonville, you got to do better. Everybody in the league is looking at Jacksonville like, this is the next team on the come up. It's Jacksonville and Oakland. How do you drop a ball like this? Jacksonville drops to 0-2. You got to do better, Jacksonville. You've got to do better. Because there ain't a damn team in Florida that's looking good right now. I'll tell you that much. The Raiders and the Falcons. The Falcons, they came out and showed they could play on the road. I'm sorry. I had no clue that Matt Ryan was going to come out and play like this. I think he almost threw for 500 yards. This shit is insane. How you give up 500 yards of offense at home in the black hole? What are you doing, Oakland? What are you doing? Offensively, they played great. They played great. Derek Carr has shown he's a real elite QB in this league. Amari Cooper is up and down the field. Crabtree got hands for days. And in the backfield, Latavius Murray, he can run the ball. But the defense gave up 500 yards of offense. You can't win games like that. Atlanta can't really play on the road, but they came out and they won here. Especially you go to a hostile environment like Oakland, you come out with a W like that. That's something to think about. I'm still not sold on Atlanta. Don't get me confused. I don't see them winning more than 6 games this year because I have no confidence in Matt Ryan. But they showed up in Oakland and they took care of business. I wanted Oakland to go 2-0 because I want people to look at Denver and then I want them to look at Oakland like this is the next team on the come up. I think they could challenge Denver. I'm excited to see that game whenever it shows up because in my opinion, that's going to be one of the turning points in the league because I see Oakland upsetting Denver. Now, moving on to the Colts and Broncos, that was it was everything I thought it was going to be. The Broncos simply came out, took care of business. I believe they had 2 defensive touchdowns, and the Colts look very sloppy this year. They look very sloppy this year. You start out 0-2 in a division that's really not that serious. I mean, Houston's running with it right now, but it's only been 2 weeks, and to tell you the truth, Denver's defense is unreal. Unreal. You've got, I believe, in my opinion, you have 4 Hall of Famers on that team, future Hall of Famers. DeMarcus Ware, shoo-in. Von Miller, he has 3 more seasons like he's been playing, he's a shoo-in. Aqib Talib, he's going in. I'm letting you know right now, he has 9 interception returns for touchdowns. 9. He's tied for 4th all time. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame if he stays consistent. And Chris Harris Jr., very unappreciated. In my opinion, him and Talib are the best cornerbacks in the league. I'm talking 1 and 2. Those guys could possibly be future Hall of Famers. You're playing with probably 4 on your defense right there. There's something serious. Offensively, Trevor Siemian, I don't see him doing anything this season, but defensively, they can win games. They look a whole lot like the 2006 Chicago Bears, where that defense carried that team. Shit, you could even look at the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their offense wasn't nothing that was too serious, but their defense was insane. When your defense becomes your offense, you start to worry if you're the opposing team because all the offense got to do is score about 2 touchdowns. If the defense giving you 2 as well, that's 28 points at the least. Let's not even talk about kickers. This Denver team is scary defensively. Offensively, not really. And Sunday Night Football, the Packers. I don't know what the hell y'all doing. I don't know what the hell y'all doing. Y'all really need to get it together. Because offensively, you do not look good. Last week against Jacksonville, it wasn't really that great of a game. You may have scored 27 points, but if you looked at the ebb and flow of the game, that offense wasn't really making moves like that. And this week, you come out against a Vikings team that lost Adrian Peterson. And you still had Terrence Newman at cornerback at 38, holding every single play, and you couldn't seem to get a touchdown on this man. You couldn't take advantage of this Vikings defense. That front seven for Minnesota is something serious, too. That's something serious. They scored 2 touchdowns last week. They came and shut down Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay offense, being called by McCarthy, I might add, and held them to 14 points. They held them to 14 points. People got to start looking at this Vikings team like, okay, maybe it's not just a fluke from last season. Adrian Peterson tore his meniscus. My father tore his meniscus. So I'm not sure, but my father's not an athlete. He was out for like maybe 6 weeks. Adrian Peterson's a different human. So if he, and mind you, they didn't rule him out for this Sunday. So if he happens to play on a torn meniscus, that man is worthy of all praise. Seriously, that is really purple Jesus right there. I'm praying for his health. I hope he comes back because ultimately I want him to have 5 1,200-yard seasons just so he can become the all-time leading rusher. Because I've never really been sold on Emmitt Smith. I want Adrian Peterson to retire as the all-time leading rusher. He said himself he will play as long as he wants to until he believes it's ready to retire. I hope it's not that big a deal on his leg. I hope he's able to still have that mobility so he can play next week. But the Vikings 2-0, they're looking real. I think they can possibly win the division. It's too early because Green Bay could always get it together. But those are the two teams. If they're playing week 17 at the end of this year, that's the game to watch, week 17. Now, moving on to the final game of the week, the Eagles and the Bears. I'm sorry. I'm still not sold on the Eagles yet. Do I believe they're going to win the NFC East? I do, but I'm not really sold on the Eagles yet. You played against 2 terrible teams in the Browns and the Bears. And Jay Cutler, I hate you. I hate you so much. You let me down yet again. I sung your praises last week, and you came out and let me down. I'm done, man. You got a beast on the outside of Alshon Jeffrey, and you can't do nothing with him. Jeremy Langford, you too. You let me down. I thought you were going to be like the second coming of Matt Forte. You let me down. We're going to find out what type of team Philly is this week when they play against Pittsburgh. Now, let's talk a little bit about our predictions for this upcoming week. So let's talk about tomorrow. What we have here, I'm looking at the Texans against the Patriots. I'm expecting the Texans to come out and play. It's going to be a close game. I expect the Texans to get that W. Only because I don't see Jacoby Brissett having the same production that Garoppolo had. If Jacoby Brissett comes out and he balls, and then all of a sudden the Patriots run away with this game, I'm seeing the Patriots possibly in the Super Bowl, AFC Championship against my Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to find out what sort of team that is. But I got Texans over Patriots. Then I got the Cardinals rolling over the Bills. I don't see the Bills doing anything against that team. I got the Raiders beating the Titans this week. I've got the Redskins over the Giants. I see the Redskins finally getting that W. I'm not saying this because I hate the Giants, although I do. I see Josh Norman taking Odell Beckham out of the game. Victor Cruz is going to be the high man for the Giants. He's going to have the most receptions, probably the most yards, because the Redskins give up a ton of offense anyway. But Matt Jones is going to have a good game. I see that happening. Nobody on the field is covering Jordan Reed. I see that man having 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins probably going, let's go 23 for 37, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It's going to be the passing attack that does the Giants in. That's going to be the game to watch this week as well. But most people, they're talking about the Josh Norman and Odell Beckham matchup. I don't think it's going to be a bunch of fireworks, to tell you the truth, because you just saw Cincinnati and Pittsburgh play a clean game. So I don't see this game getting out of hand at all. Moving on to Cleveland and the Dolphins. The Dolphins win. I mean, this this game is gonna suck. I don't see anything happening here except Jarvis Landry probably going for maybe 200 yards, receiving yards. That's the only thing that I could possibly see happening. But these teams, they're caca, son. They're doodle. Nobody really cares for them. The Ravens and the Jaguars. I think Jacksonville gets it done. I think Jacksonville finally gets it done because that Ravens offense has only been 2 touchdowns to Mike Wallace, and that's pretty much been it. Or I should say 3 over the course of the season. That's been the Ravens offense. They have no rushing game. They have no rushing game. And when it comes to throwing, I'm not really trusting Flacco like that. Jacksonville has to get it done. If they want to make any noise in the AFC, they have to get it done. I see Jacksonville winning this game. Detroit and Green Bay at Green Bay. Green Bay is going to roll. They're going to make up for that last week's loss at Minnesota. Green Bay is going to roll. Denver and the Bengals, watching how the Bengals crumbled against the Pittsburgh defense, I don't see them beating Denver. And mind you, Denver has a better front seven than Pittsburgh does. They're going to destroy Dalton. I'm not even sure if he's going to be able to survive this game. You might see A.J. McCarron. I'm just saying that. Quote me on it. Quote me on it. Denver rolls. Defensively, they get 2 touchdowns. Denver beats Cincinnati. The Vikings and Panthers. This is actually a pretty good game. And tell you the truth, only because Adrian Peterson's not playing, I see the Panthers winning. But I see it being very close. Game-winning field goal off Graham Gano's foot. And I don't even see it being a high-scoring game. I'm going to go, let's go 21-20. 21-20 Panthers. Rams and Buccaneers at Tampa Bay. Rams and Buccaneers at Tampa Bay. Wow. Who do I see winning this game? You know, after last week's performance, I would have to go Tampa Bay because I don't think the Rams can be consistent. I don't think they can be consistent. They just happen to match up very well with Seattle. I don't see them being extremely consistent this week. I'm sorry. Tampa Bay, are they going to roll? No. It's probably going to be one of those games that end 28-24. But Jameis Winston, especially at home, I think he'll be able to get it done. And Seattle and the 49ers, those games are always competitive. And you know what? Yeah, I tried to think in my head, let me say San Francisco. I can't even say it. It doesn't even sound right. The Seattle Seahawks are going to get it together. Only because San Francisco is not really that good of a team. So is it going to be an impressive win? No. You might see something like 14-0 or maybe 14-7. I don't see Seattle scoring more than 14 points. And you'll be lucky if it's 2 offensive touchdowns. You'll probably get a pick 6 from Sherman or Cam Chancellor, maybe even Eric Thomas. But Earl Thomas, I don't know why I said Eric. I always mix him and Eric Berry up for some apparent reason, like they fuse together. But that game, I don't see Seattle doing anything that's too special, but I do see them winning the game. Moving on to the Jets and the Chiefs at Kansas City. I don't think Kansas City is going to lose this game at home, especially with Jamal Charles coming back. I think Kansas City wins this game. Sorry to all the Jets fans out there, but your team's way too inconsistent, especially offensively. You can't seem to get it done. I see Kansas City winning this game. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be probably a game-winning drive by Alex Smith, bringing the team down the field. You're going to have Jeremy Maclin probably beating up Revis. Revis has lost the juice. Moving on to the Chargers and Colts. Chargers and Colts. Wow. Probably the Colts win this game. And they're at home. The Colts win this game. I don't think the Chargers can generate that much offense without that many pieces. They were always injury prone. If I'm the strength and conditioning coach and I happen to work in San Diego, I think I need to be fired because year after year after year after year after year, a ton of your players are getting hurt. left and right, and this just it's unacceptable. And I don't think Indy's gonna come out and drop another egg. If Indy loses this game, they're done for the season. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you're an Indy fan, that's a damn shame for you. You might as well buy a Peyton Manning jersey and just cry into that sumbitch on the side of the goddamn bed every single night. Because if you can't win this game, that's it. That's really it right there. Your season is done. Battle of the undefeateds. We got Pittsburgh going against Philadelphia. Battle for Pennsylvania. I think Pittsburgh wins this game only because they played against much more impressive talent than the Eagles did. The Eagles played against the worst two teams in the league and came out and made themselves look a little bit impressive. Pittsburgh beat a playoff team in Washington and a division winner. You just beat Cincinnati, and they were a division winner last year. So I see Pittsburgh winning this game only because this offense is rolling. You get Marcus Wheaton back, and one more game, and Le'Veon Bell's back on the field. So, I mean, this offense is looking somewhat scary. But I see Pittsburgh winning this game, and I think it's in Philly. But no matter where it is, I see Pittsburgh winning. Sunday night football. Is it Sunday night? We'll find out. Actually, yeah, I think it is. Chicago and the Cowboys. I see the Cowboys winning. Chicago gives me no reason to feel happy about that team, feel confident about that team. The Cowboys, I don't know how Ezekiel Elliott doesn't have 200 yards on the ground yet behind that offensive line. Makes no sense to me. Dak Prescott, you impressed me. I've been a fan of you since the preseason. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot lay an egg right here. You cannot. You have to come out and win this game at home. You cannot lay an egg. Des Bryant, you finally start getting the ball to him. I expect you to do the same during this game, especially against the Chicago Bears team whose defense was getting fucked up 2 nights ago. So, Dallas wins this game. Monday Night Football, we got the Saints and the Falcons. Always a competitive game. Happens to be in a dome, so the Atlanta can act like they're at home as well. So, this game, probably, I don't want to say offensive explosion because the Saints defense actually showed up last week. So, I see New Orleans winning this game because I don't see them going 0-3, and I don't think Drew Brees will allow something like that to happen. You had two nail-biter losses by New Orleans. Brandon Cooks came out and said they're about 2 plays away from being 2-0. I think they make those plays this week, and they win the doggone game. So those are my picks for this week in week 2. Now I'll move on to my power rankings. My top 5 teams, because last week I did 32. My top 5 teams. It's just like this. Number 1, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Simply because how impressive they've been looking these past 2 weeks. I mean, it's insane. You're missing so many pieces offensively, and you're still able to come out and destroy these teams. That's something to be worried about if your team's in the league. Denver, I got them at number 2. They didn't drop down for their performance at all. They only moved down because Pittsburgh moved up. It's that serious. I should say it's that simple. Number 3, I got not Pittsburgh. Number 3, I got the Patriots. Got the Patriots there because, I mean, they're playing great football. They just don't happen to have a quarterback. That's the only reason why I got them at 3. Number 4, I got the Panthers. Number 5, I got the Cardinals. Only because those 2 NFC teams, they were at the top of their game last year. They seem to be getting back into form this week. And the teams that I got falling off, or I should say on the upcoming, in my 6 and 7, I got the Vikings, I got the Texans. I dropped the Packers all the way down to 8. If anything, you should go look at the power rankings on NFL.com. My list is extremely simple. My list is extremely similar to their list, simply because I guess we thought the same this week. And only difference is I moved the Bears to like number 38. There's only 32 teams in the league. The Bears are numbers 32 through 38. You guys suck. You guys suck. You and the Browns need to leave the league and just leave 30 teams in the league like it's a goddamn NBA. You guys suck. Real excited for this week. If you have anything else to add to the show, you have any things of disagreements or possible agreements, any thoughts how I could change this thing up, feel free to comment in the comment section down below. Leave me with a like. If not, leave me with a dislike too. All positive, All negative feedback works for me. Makes me want to work, work a little bit harder. So I'm your host, your humble host, diligent, vigilant, meticulous, sagacious, conscientious, analytical, methodical individual. I am the Chiseled Adonis, signing off.